In this first look video from InfluenceWP, we are checking out a WordPress plugin called Tableberg. This is going to allow you to create tables using the default WordPress block editor. Before we poke around the website and then look at the solution together, a quick bit of housekeeping. First look videos cover products and services that we have no prior experience with. They show vendors how new users experience their website, products, and/or services for the very first time. These videos are unedited, high-level introductions that are not paid for, they're not sponsored, and they contain no affiliate links. If you would like videos like this or other types of videos created for your business, go to influencewp.com/partners and request your free lifetime partner membership. While we're talking about partnerships, I'm going to thank Tableberg for being a partner. And if you go over to influencewp.com and find the deals area, you will find an exclusive deal for Tableberg. They're offering a deal for the InfluenceWP community that's on top of any deals that they ever run on their website. So that's a very special exclusive offer. Okay, so we are on their website here, tableberg.com. That's Tableberg.com. And as I typically like to do, I just go right down into the footer. But if something catches my eye, we will check that out. Okay, I see down here in the footer, we have a link to docs. So I want to check that out. I also want to check out the changelog, the about page. They have a really nice option here, multilingual option. All right, let's go back into the header and see if I missed anything. Docs, support. So they have a number of demos. So let's look at a couple of those. Let's go pricing table demo. Okay, so you see a number of pricing tables you can look at. Let's do like maybe a pros and cons table. Very cool, very cool. Okay, so you can check out all those demos on your own time when you would like. Very comprehensive documentation from what I'm seeing here. So that is great with the option to search. So let's do some fun. Let's have some fun. Let's do. They have a link to a doc, how to duplicate rows or columns. So let's do a search for the word duplicate row. There we go. Very cool. Okay, let's go over to changelog. We see. I can't really tell if it's an active changelog because there are no dates. So my Tableberg, if you are watching this, my recommendation is to have. Please consider putting dates in here so we know when the stuff is coming out. Yeah, it's just hard to tell if it's how active it is, but there's a lot going on depending on when these dates are. Let's go to the about page. Okay, love that they talk about their story, and most importantly, I love that there are faces with names, and then the team members here. So very, very good job on that. All right. I'm going to close some of these tabs. I'm going to move this over to my other screen just so I can have access to the docs in case we need them. Here I have a WordPress test site with nothing but the latest version of WordPress and the 2025 default theme. And I have Tableberg and Tableberg Pro activated. You need both of those. If you're running the paid version, you're going to need the base version that you can grab from the repository. So yeah, that's all we have running. So let's go ahead and see what's next. I'm going to click on Tableberg over here in the left-hand menu. We've got a nice welcome video, links to documentation and support. Let's go over here to blocks. So we see the available blocks, each with the exception of paragraph, because that's self-explanatory, but you get a direct link to the documentation, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and click on that. Very cool. Really nice documentation. Up here, I'm seeing a drop-down which looks like versions. So maybe you can quickly toggle between versions. Yep. Okay. So that's cool. If you need to downgrade, they built in a downgrade feature. So that is a really cool feature. I'm not going to go into the account page because that's where the licensing information and all that. Contact us. That's self-explanatory. Support forum, self-explanatory. Let's go to add-ons. So it looks like, okay, so it's just Tableberg Pro, which we're already running. Okay. I assume there's going to be more add-ons to come, but that's what we have right now. So I'm going to click on this other Tableberg menu item. Okay, so that takes us right back here. Okay, so I think the only thing we're left to do with now is, without looking at the documentation, is just to go to the block editor, right? All right, let's go to pages. I'm going to add a new page. We'll call this, just call this TB for Tailberg. Tableberg. Told you these videos were unedited. Tableberg. TB. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the block editor, if I do a slash that leans to the right, it's going to pull up my some available options for blocks. I can also do a search. So I could do a search for Tableberg, I'm guessing. There we go. You're going to get these two options here. So Tableberg, the core, I'm assuming, and then a toggle for Tableberg. Another way we can do this is to click on this plus symbol up here in the top left, and we can go and do a search for table in here. Okay, so those are all mixed in here. So we've got a couple options. Here we go. So we see those two options here that we saw before, Tableberg and toggle for Tableberg. But then we've got, I'm assuming these are, you can drop these right in. There we go. So some really cool. I didn't even know this was part of it, that we've got some pre-built situations going on here. So you don't have to start from scratch. So that's really cool. So let's go ahead and click on just this main Tableberg option and see what that gets us. Okay, with that selected, we can choose our column count, our row count, and then we've got options, pre-built tables. Oh, then we've got some upcoming options. So it looks like soon there's going to be data tables. So CSV, XML type stuff. Maybe you can import, export that data. WooCommerce tables, AI tables, interesting, and post tables. So I'm going to let's do 3 columns. Let's do 1 row. Let's do a pre-built table. So all I did here was just click on this pre-built table icon. And here we go. Let's just go with this pricing tables, but we see that we have pricing tables, other types of tables, pros and cons, feature boxes, comparison tables. All right, let's go back to pricing. Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and choose this one right here. There we go. So that dropped that in. And from there, clicking into each of these items, we then have more blocks that are exposed. So star ratings, styled list items, custom HTML, icon, ribbon, toggle, Tableberg, button, image, and cell. So super, super powerful stuff. With this block selected, let's go back here to the block. This is let me undo some stuff here. Undo, redo. There we go. So I'm going to check this out. Let me do this again. 3 and 1. All right, I don't know how that got in there. Let's try this again. Just drop in the main Tableberg. There we go. 3 columns, 1 row. So I can choose pre-built or just click create and maybe start building from scratch. There we go. Okay. So then once you click into the individual items, okay, then we can get at all of this stuff. So what I'm kind of wondering, let's go back another level. Let's do slash Tableberg. If I was to let's just do 3 columns, 2 rows. If I was to set that and then click create, is it automatically, now if I choose a pre-built table, is it automatically going to know that? No. Okay. So this is only for the creation of from scratch. So let's go 3 columns, 2 rows, create from scratch and see what it gives us. Boom. There we go. Okay. So that's what that's for. All right. Let's do, oops, not this one. Okay. So with this selected, then we have options over here on the right-hand side. We can do sticky top row, sticky first column. We can enable search, which is really cool. Enable vertical scrolling, enable horizontal scrolling. Then you've got some style options, column only border. Very, very cool. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do 3 columns, 1 row, pre-built table. Let's go pricing table. This one right here. That's cool. Now we see, since we chose a pre-built option, we're disabling the header here, make a top row header, insert header, disable footer. So sometimes with pricing, you want to disable the headers and footers, so like for distraction free. Like I just want people to look at the pricing and not get distracted with things. So that's where those settings are useful. So you can adjust the table width if you want, the table alignment, left, center, right. If you have issues, you can troubleshoot and disable theme styles, which is just going to then take on certain things based on what theme you're using or not, depending on what you do with that toggle. Then you've got some responsive settings here: desktop, table, mobile. So you can see here you've got a little bit of work to do on mobile. Sticky top row. So I'm seeing something change right here with this little premium ribbon. Okay, so maybe this doesn't apply in this case. Sticky first column. I think this would apply more if you have like a table. So like this, for example, and you want to make that sticky top row. Anyway, just know those options are available. Let's go to enable search. I think to really show this off, let's keep going back. Let's just clear our, whatever you want to call it, canvas here. Let's do an actual table here. Let's do this table. There we go. Now let's try these out. Sticky top row. There we go. So you see that sticky top row? Okay, let's do sticky first column. So this is going to be, if we have enough columns to where we can't see it all and we're like sliding to the right, it's going to keep that column there. I don't know how to demonstrate that very quickly here, so we'll skip that. Okay, so back in the block, how do I get back to the main? Here we go. Okay, so what else do we look at? Enable search. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just publish this page. Maybe this will be easier to show. Okay, so we see let's do the sticky on this. Go back. Okay, let's go sticky top row just so we can see that. Let's try sticky first column. Search position we can change. Right now it is wide. Let's try left. Center. Okay. So you'd have to play with that position a bit. We'll go with the defaults. Let's refresh. Okay, so we see that sticky header there. If we had enough columns, that's when that sticky first column would come into play. Let's say we want to do a search for this, advanced security. We'll just do a search for security. So imagine that this was a big spreadsheet or a big table, I should say. What if we wanted to find security? Okay, not in there. So maybe I'm thinking about that differently. Let's go over to shop. Let me do this. Let's go plugins. Let's activate WooCommerce for fun. Let's go refresh our shop page. There we go. Can I do a search then for product 1? Okay, so I'm not really sure what that is searching for. Anyway, you can change the search placeholder to be whatever text you want. We also have the option here for pro sorting, enable vertical sorting. Okay, we see that take hold here with these arrows. We'll turn that back off. Enable horizontal sorting. So we see that right here. Okay, we'll turn that back off. We're going to turn off our sticky rows and columns. Let me do a search on their website for search. Let's do that. See what this is all about. By adding a search bar to the WordPress table, you can make it easy for users to quickly find the information they need. This is extremely helpful when you have many columns and rows that are filled with complex information. Okay. So I think that's right. I think what I was trying to do was right. So it should just be searching within this actual form. So I would think if I do a search for the word analytics, it should find that. But it's not. So I might be misunderstanding there. If you're watching this Tableberg, you can correct me and I'll update the video description. Okay, what else can we see here? Let's go under styling. So here we see the various colors that are happening. We can do header background color of black. Let's do an even row color of black. There we go. Let's do an odd color of yellow. There we go. You get the idea there. You can adjust the dimensions. So we've got a nice slider here if we want to adjust the cell padding. So that's doing some vertical padding there. We want to do some horizontal padding. Some cell spacing, horizontal and vertical and horizontal. We can adjust some borders, column only border, row only border. So I'm going to do it. Let me do a refresh here. Okay, so now let's go and adjust these borders. Let's go back to styling. Pro, column only border. So it's probably a color. I need to set a color here. So pro, column only border. Column border, here we go. Let's make this thick just so we can see it. There we go. And then you can adjust the color. Let's make it red. Okay, row only border. So we set the row, and then we go down here. There's also a border radius. We see that right here. We can set a border radius. Okay, row border. Let's do it again. Let's go even bigger with this one. Let's go 10. There we go. And we can change the color. Let's go orange. And let's check out that border radius. There we go. Super cool. So then we also have the option to hide cell outside borders. There we go. Table border. So we can put a border around this whole thing. Maybe put 20 and make that purple. Put a border radius on that. Super, super flexible as you can see. So we mess with the inner border, the row borders, column borders. We've got a global font style, so we can change our font color. Let's change it to yellow, which is totally not accessible, but fun. There we go. So you can mess with that. And you can mess with the link colors. You can adjust the font size. Obviously, CSS is at your disposal, but we're just working within the block editor right now. So that is all in there. Okay, so looking at the actual, clicking into the actual table. So let's say we click into this item. We then have all kinds of options. Like maybe we want to change the icon. So instead of a check mark, we want to do just real quick. We'll just put a link. Wouldn't want to do that most likely, but there you go. But that you see how to change out that. Maybe we want to change this text. Yes. No. And you get the idea. Super, super cool. Super, super flexible. If you look at what Gutenberg, block editor, whatever it is that you call it, gives you out of the box, huge difference. So let's go. Let's do one more. Let's do a new page. We will call this Gut table. We will add a table. This will be the built-in table for WordPress. And we see that we've got some options. Let's do the same thing. 3 columns, 1 row. Create. Okay, looking at that, you'll see how you are extremely limited to what you can do here. All right. There are some options. There are some options, but you are extremely limited. So that's where this plugin comes into play. And let's go over, see if I can find the section here for Tableberg and see what all there is to do. Let's do a search in here, Tableberg. Okay. So like I showed you earlier, you've got all of these options right here. You don't need to drill. You don't need to first add the block and then go in. You can just go and add these in. So super, super cool stuff. What else do I want to show you? I'm going to see what this toggle is. So what I'm thinking that you can do is like maybe do a pricing table with like a monthly and annual pricing toggle. Oh, wow. That is so cool. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put this to use already. I know for a fact. So this is really cool. Okay. So if you want to do pricing tables, right? Can I get rid of this tab 3? So you could do, so I'm selecting this first tab, and then over here we can do monthly, go to this tab, annual. You can choose which one is the default active tab. You can do tab alignment. So this is much more than just tables. It's much more, in my opinion. This is scratching the surface of what this can do. So let's say this is your monthly pricing in this tab. Boom, drop that in. What happens if I switch to annual? It's blank. That is so cool. Okay, so annual is now selected. Let's do the same thing. 3, 1 row. Let's do that same pricing table. So over here, you could say, you probably want to put a heading in here, but I'm just going to show you, for example, a way that you could do it. There we go. Monthly, annual. And, we're using the default 2025 theme. We're not doing anything with CSS yet. We're not deep diving into this yet. So you can see here, you're going to need to do some stuff, based on the theme that you've got going on. So if I go over here into themes, like I said, we're using the 2025 theme. Maybe I switch this over to the WooCommerce storefront theme. And then we see how this changes, if at all. There, we see it change. It's a little bit better. Let's change over to Ollie. Also a free theme from the repository. We see how that changes. So you're going to have different, you're going to have different challenges, right? Because this is a plugin that works with every theme because it's Gutenberg, right? So it's a block editor. So you're going to have a little bit of styling going on, but you probably can handle some of this. So if I click on this button right here, we see that we can adjust the width. Under styling, we can change the background color. Here's the hover background color. So that was the problem that was created. So let's just for fun change it to black for now. So save that. There we go. So that's better. Okay, so Tableberg does give you a lot of styling options to where you can get in here and probably fix most, if not everything, with just clicking around without needing CSS. And but again, it depends on your theme. It depends on what you're doing, because every site is going to be completely different. But out of the box, this is great. So let's go back to the default 2025 theme. Refresh. Yeah, so we see things like this, like the buttons and stuff like this. You may just find that it's you have to open a support ticket somewhere, whether it's WordPress or Tableberg in this case, and figure out what's going on there. It could also be the template, the page template. So if I go here, go to page, we go to template, change template. That's really all you get there with that. You could edit the template. So it could be that. It could be something to do with the template. But the moral of the story here is to see the power of Tableberg. And I'll be completely honest. Going in, I didn't have a need for this myself right away. But I do have some pricing tables that I've been looking to replace with something that's faster, lightweight, and I think I might try to take a stab at it with Tableberg. Okay. Again, tableberg.com. Yeah. Hopefully I've shown you the power of all of this. Yeah, just lots and lots that you can do here. All right, guys. Again, first look video, high level introduction. Go over here, check out all of the demos. Think about what you've seen in this video. Check out all the docs and all of that stuff. But super pumped about this solution and taking it for a spin myself, like I said, to replace some pricing tables for myself. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one.